farmers' rights. This program is being organized by Food Sovereignty Ghana in collaboration with the African Center for Biosafety and the Third World Network. The program is also being sponsored by the Bread for the World. And I think we are grateful to all of them and to you also for your presence. We are a little late. We were expecting our main facilitator, Dr. Graham, to be here. He's not here yet, but we cannot continue to wait. At least we will start the ball rolling, and then they will come and join us. Now, my duty as a member of the Food Sovereignty Ghana on the program is to welcome you and tell you a little about the Food Sovereignty Ghana. I think you take your brochure, your parcel. We have all the information in there, including the brochure on Food Sovereignty Ghana. So I will not talk much, but I need to make a few remarks. First of all, somebody would ask, who is what is Food Sovereignty Ghana? And what are our aims are. Let me begin by saying that Food Sovereignty Ghana is a civil society organization. It was formed not too long ago, if you look at the brochure, by a few minded Ghanaians who think that we must depart from the often touted food security to an era of food sovereignty. Now let me explain this, because that is our core interest. When we talk about food security, we can have a situation where you'll be importing $200 million worth of rice. You flood the market with plantain, cocoyam, tomatoes from Ivory Coast and from Burkina Faso. You see them on the market. You see the rice as well. And you think that you have enough food. You are lulled into believing that there is security in terms of food. But the truth is that you have three problems. The first problem is that if your money should get short and you should be in difficulty of finding money to buy rice or to buy the food, you will soon be faced with hunger because you no longer have the money to buy the food to provide the security your people need. And that is problem number one. And now we are all ourselves have become aware that when you always import food from outside, you run a risk when your money is short. The second risk you also face is that the people who bring you the rice and bring you the plantain and bring you the tomatoes and bring you whatever, if they decide to make demands on you, that before we bring you the rice, do this or do that for me, and you don't do what you are being asked to do, they can intentionally decide not to bring the food again. and then you find that your food security is a sham. It has happened to us in Ghana before. Those who are a little older will remember that before 1966 and soon after Nkrumah was overthrown, Ghana was flooded with wheat and milk powder and yellow corn. Those who are old enough will remember, because it was said that by providing us with the milk powder and the yellow corn and the milk powder and all those things, we would have enough food, which we believed we were not having at that time. But when they started making the demands and we were not being able to fulfill them, the wheat, the milk powder, and all those things got lost from the market. I remember very well for most people when the mothers particularly, when they go to weigh in, they are giving free milk powder and free wheat. Now they don't get them again. So what they thought that they had food security at that time is no longer the case. So when you talk about food security and emphasize food security in terms of having enough, you open yourself into that second risk. Now, there is also a third risk that has got to do with sometimes the food they would send you may be contaminated. It may not be the best quality food, and when you eat, you have a problem. But they will not tell you that the food they are sending you are contaminated. You have had that experience in Ghana before. And I can tell you on authority that it came to a point where the milk powder that were sent to us were contaminated by if those who remember Chernobyl, the nuclear disaster. When it happened and it spread into Europe, they shipped the contaminated milk and those food items to us in Ghana. And our Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, a committee was set up to investigate. So the third danger is that for food, what you think you have food security, when you are relying from imports from outside, you stand the risk of receiving contaminated food items you may not know. In fact, that is the centerpiece of our discussion, particularly on genetically modified organization food crops, biosafety, and how it affects this country in terms of intellectual property and farmers' rights, how it affects small-scale farmers. We would have people to talk about them. So food sovereignty Ghana, looking and analyzing the situation, thinks that Ghana should move away from food security to food sovereignty. There are two different things. Food sovereignty means that you have control over your own food. And I'm sure if you are producing your own food in a way that is organically appropriate and correct, you will not worry about contamination. You cannot be blackmailed. You have the independence that you require. And I've always indicated that the difference between food security and food sovereignty is that with food security, you can put your mouth and your head in somebody's kitchen so that you will depend on somebody else for your food. And the day you go and the person has closed the kitchen, it means you are going to be hungry for the whole day. So instead of putting your mouth, and you know, if you put your mouth, it means your whole head will go into the kitchen. Instead of putting your mouth and your head into somebody's kitchen, you stay outside and work on your own to produce the food you require, so that your independence will not only be limited to political independence, but you also have independence about the food that you produce. That is what food sovereignty Ghana stands for. And I think I must make it quite clear, especially on occasion like this. Now, we have set our aims and objectives clearly in the document that is in your folder, that is headed Food Sovereignty Ghana. It is in your folder. And our major concern, as we have listed in terms of our aims and objectives, are to help promote the people's right to healthy and culturally appropriate food. And it's very important to state that every group of persons have food that are culturally related to their way of life. Our Nime and Nam, they are here. If you don't give them kinky, or you deprive them from getting kinky for a week, you are in trouble. And for some other people, if they don't get their plantain, you are in trouble. Or if they don't get their chosabi in a day, you are in trouble. These are the foods that are culturally related to the group of people. So even if you flood the market with rice, if you flood the market with cornflakes, if you flood the market with Quaker oats, and flood the market with other type of foods, it will still not be very relevant to them, because the food that they eat have a cultural, what we say, might be culturally appropriate to them. Our second objective is to create mass awareness about the political, economic, health, and environmental impact of genetically modified food. Quite often, we hear about genetically modified foods, but we are never told the impact it will have on the environment of the people. Anytime you hear them on the radio, they will tell you they are safe. Or they will ask you proof whether somebody has eaten GMO food and has suffered any consequences. And most of the literature will tell you, oh, US, they have a lot of GMO foods. Proof that US citizens have suffered from GMO. We hold a contrary view, and these are arguments that will come up in the course of today's discussion. Thirdly, our aim is to ensure Small farms are sustained by state provisions and facilitations of necessary infrastructure. Small-scale farming continues to be relevant. Our GM foods, one of the centerpieces is land grabbing and large-scale farming. And we will soon come face to face with the problems that arise thereof. And we think that it must be the objective of the Food Sovereignty Ghana to raise awareness and ensure that small farms continue to be relevant in our country. Our fourth objective is to resist the theft, the destruction, and loss of the commons, our natural and indigenous resources. Now, one of the things they do is that they can come for our maize, go send them into their laboratory, genetically engineer, and bring them to sell them to us again. And because they have genetically engineered them, they owe the intellectual property over them. And yet, for what we have to buy and pay for them. And those of us in FSG think that this cannot be the best for this country. And it's high time we draw awareness to this problem. And the last but not the least is to help protect and preserve public access and ownership of all the things that are common to us. I must tell you sincerely that those of us in Food Sovereignty Ghana are very, 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 very passionate, extremely passionate about our sovereignty over food in this country. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is what Food Sovereignty Ghana stands for. And that is what we've been struggling to do for all this while when you hear us. And I am here to also, particularly our friends from the media, to seek your assistance and support to bring this awareness. I think there will be much to talk about. So I would end it here and say once again that all of you are very, very, very welcome to Ghana. You know, in Ghana we say Apaba. And the response is near. Apaba means you are welcome. And is thank you, brother, or thank you, sister. So for those of you who are aside, when somebody tells you Apaba, just respond near. Thank you, brother, or thank you, sister. So once again, thank you, brothers and sisters, for your presence and attention. I think we will go on your program straight to invite our next presenter, Stig, Tanzmann. Oh, I mentioned the name correctly. Yes. Good. From the Bread for the World to make his presentation. Thank you, brother.
thank you all for coming. My name is Stig Tanzmann from Bread for the World. So I will give a short introduction on the theme. So I will speak a bit of the GMO Alliance for Food Security and Nutrition and mobilization in Germany. I think it will evolve during my presentation how this links to the seed action, to the seed laws, and to the seed theme. Because for us, the GMO Alliance is something where we can really tackle the push for industrialization of agriculture and also for the industrialization of seeds in Africa. So maybe you can. Yes, we are a development organization from Germany, quite big, one of the biggest in Germany. So for us, it's the big theme is justice for the poor and also global justice. Who are we? We're a church-based development organization. Our members are the evangelical churches of Germany. They fund us. They are our consistency, and also we are, depending on the donation. We stand for justice for the poor and self-empowerment. What are our major themes? Our major themes are the protection of creation. So we are very, very critical on the GMO issue. It's a big theme for us, especially in developing countries. In Germany, the debate is going on and off. I mean, they just approved another maize variety, but our German farmers minister said he will not allow this variety onto the German market because he knows there's so much resistance within the German population on GMOs. But on the European basis, they are allowing it, but he is very straightforward. He doesn't want to have it. In our funding and in our work, we support a lot of agroecology projects. That means we are very interested in the seed issues. Seeds are the core theme to agroecology. Without agroecology seeds, you cannot do good farming. So that means you cannot rely only on hybrid seeds and not at all on GMO seeds. And also we have for free access to production factors as land and of course seeds. Yes, and then the GMO Alliance for Food Security and Nutrition, what it is and how we see it and why do we engage as Bread for the World so much on the scene and why do we think it's relevant also for Ghana. For us, the GMO Alliance for Food Security and Nutrition, it gives us the chance in Germany to address the bigger picture of what is going on within agriculture in Africa at the moment and to really tackle our government because our government is always very unprecise on what they really want and what kind of projects they fund. But they are, as a G8 member, they are part of the G8 Alliance and they allowed a lot of very bad things to happen within the G8 Alliance. For us, it's one of the strongest pushes at the moment that we're seeing to industrialize and to privatize African agriculture for the benefit of multinational companies like Monsanto, Syngenta, but also like German companies like Bayer, BASF, and so on, and because they really want to go into the African agriculture sector and make a lot of money and to change a lot of policies. So, what is the GMO Alliance for Food Security? For us, it's a mixture of all the initiatives that have been around and existing quite long. It's initiatives like Grow Africa, who really want to open Africa for foreign investment in a bad way. It's a new vision for Africa. Accra is also kind of a bit of part. Sun and the World Bank Index on doing business in agriculture, which doesn't address the points of food sovereignty, doesn't really address the points of what are smaller farmers needing. Countries who are having a framework with the G8 New Alliance are Benin, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, Ghana, of course. Ghana was one of the first and has one of the worst agreements. Malawi, Mozambique, Nigeria, Senegal, and Tanzania. What is in all these frameworks? So the big themes for these frameworks are seeds, land investment, and foreign direct investment and taxes. what is meant with seed? In 8 frameworks out of 10, we have seeds, and the African governments are asked to change their seed laws so that they get more improved varieties onto the market, which usually goes with hybrid seeds or even GMOs. In Malawi, we have it quite clear that Monsanto wants to bring GMOs onto the markets. And a lot of changes within the seed laws that we are seeing are also going into the direction of GMOs, or especially UPOV 91, which is very, very bad. So I just quoted Tanzania and Malawi, because Malawi, they would have to implement either COMESA or SADC, and most clear is also Mozambique, where they asked to cease completely, to stop completely distributing free seeds onto the market, which is, I think, something very, very bad if you see that the African seed market is 80% informal and not dominated by multinational companies, and that what we see from a Bread for the World perspective, we would really need farmer-led breeding, state-supported farmer-led breeding, or agroecology breeding. Land is also a very big issue within the G8 New Alliance. So for Ghana, Ghana is expected to release 10,000 hectares within the next years for large-scale land acquisition. So it's also a theme of land grabbing, and you have the very, very bad example of Malawi, a very small country, very much relying on smallholder farmers. They're even asked to release 200,000 hectares of land. But you have it really also in all the frameworks. You have it as well in Tanzania with the second growth corridor. You have it in Burkina Faso. So it's really something serious. And what is even more important to see is that the frameworks only ask African governments and African companies to do something. All the money that is put into the frameworks by Western governments, especially by Germany and the US, it's old money. Sorry? Yes. Now it's better again. There's no new money from the German government. They're just trading the old money anyways in their budget for all these countries, and they just asked African countries to open their policies for the big countries. That's why we call the G8 New Alliance a structured adjustment 2.0 or near equivalent. Can we go from? So the G8 New Alliance in the German context, we fought last year very hard in Germany, because Germany was in charge of the new Benin framework, which was passed last year. And it's very soft because we have been very vocal on it. We managed to get the seed issue completely out of it, so Benin has nothing on seeds on it. The other framework that followed it, Senegal, is very defensive on seeds. There are no land issues in it and no big multinationals. So like in Malawi and Tanzania, you have Monsanto within the framework, we have Syngenta, and usually you have a lot of big multinational companies. But you don't have it in Benin, and you don't have it in also in Senegal. And through our work on the G8 New Alliance, also in correlation with AFSA, the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, we managed to bring the seed theme onto the plate of the German government and also on the European Union, who are now becoming concerned on what they did with the G8 New Alliance, being directly into the theme of seed law harmonization in Africa and pushing for multinationals and pushing for something they maybe don't want, but they maybe rather the US wants. And in 2015, we have the next G8 summit in Germany, and the G8 New Alliance will be a very big theme for us, because we really want to stop a radical reform that we are not satisfied with what we reached in Benin. We want to become either something positive, like really addressing the needs of smallholder farmers, like really addressing farmer-based breeding for seeds, or we want them to stop it. We can go on. So why are we here, and why do we support also this workshop? We see this also the struggle which is going on here in Ghana about the seed issue and the plant breeders. We see it in a bigger context of Northern-South dialogue or Northern-South solidarity. We're having a huge demonstration in Germany every year since 4 years, which is calling for agroecology, which is calling for the use of small farmers, addressing small farmers, and to stop the northern-dominated push for industrialization agriculture. We have been 30,000 this year in January in Berlin, and to move 30,000 people in the winter, in the frosts, in minus degrees in Germany, that's really a big thing, and the GMO Alliance was a big thing. So we see also what you're doing here as a support of what we're doing in Germany, and we're taking the issues from Ghana to Germany. So what are our plans in the German civil society? We'll put the GMO Alliance even stronger on the plate of the German government for 2015, because we see that they can really do something or have to do something in 2015. We'll use this G8 thing as a vehicle to attack the mindset of industrialization of farming and industrialization of farming and agriculture in Africa, because that is what we see, that is the vision that also the German government has. They want large-scale agriculture, they want industrial farms. Already the wording is changing a bit, but what they're pushing for is a bit something else. And seeds will be a focus in our work on the GMO Alliance, because there we see a lot of impact has been done through the GMO Alliance, and we can really tell the German government, you're involved in this, and it's not the African governments or the US pushing it, but you have certain responsibilities. And for us, of course, it's a matter of solidarity between the North and the South, and we will have, we can go further on with another picture. You see, I think it relates also very nice to the pictures or the video that you showed at the beginning of the day. You know, people in Ghana, people in Europe are on the streets because they want different agriculture, and they want a lot of things not to happen, and they have a vision for food sovereignty and a different vision of agriculture, and that's where we can stand together. So next year, 2015, we will come back with the general demonstration. The G8 will be a theme, seeds will be a theme. We'll move on to the World Social Forum in Tunis. And then in June we'll have the G8 summit, and we will have the German Church Day of the Aggregated Churches, which is also a very important date for us, because then we can really confront the German government. There will be 200 or 300,000 people gathering, so there we can bring things forward, bring also maybe some Ghanaian issues forward. So I just wanted to give you this impression of what we are doing in Germany as a matter of solidarity, and as a matter to start this workshop, and then to rather come with the strong themes on the plant breeders' rights and on the more technical issues. This is more giving an overview and putting maybe what you're facing here into a global context or global picture of the push of the North, of the push of the multinational companies to industrialize African agriculture, and what we're doing in resistance. So thank you. I hope this was giving some
thank you so much for your presentation. I think because of time, if you have any question to ask, please note them down. At the appropriate time, they all come forward, and then you can put your questions to them. Now, the next announcement to also indicate that there is a washroom here, close on my right. So anybody who wants to visit the washroom can do so. Next, you also say that we're still expecting Dr. Yagraham from the Third World Network. He hasn't come. We hope he still will come. But nevertheless, we'll continue with the program. We have the next presentation from Duke Ni Amadi Tagoe. He is the Vice Chairman of the Food Sovereignty Ghana. And I present to you Honorable Duke Tagoe for his presentation.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for making time to participate in this very important workshop. And it is our hope that by the time this training session is over, we would have been, given the arms or the tools that are needed for making proper analysis and also engage better with the larger public about the issues of plant variety protection, about the issues of GMOs, and about the issues of Stig registration. All of these are very, very crucial at this moment of our national life, when we find the corporate attempt to push for the control of the very seeds that forms the basis of our societies. And I thank you so much for coming. This morning, I'm doing a presentation or an overview of the Green Revolution and the GM push in Ghana. I'm looking at the players, the motives, and the threats and also the opportunities. Now, on March 7, 2012, the Chicago Council on Global Affairs released a white paper calling on the U.S. government to make global agriculture, development, and food security a priority agenda item at the G8 summit. That was between May 18th and 19th of 2012. The white paper developed by a bipartisan working group of former governments, international organizations, business and academic leaders, offers recommendations on how G8 governments can advance an international commitment to agricultural development in order to increase global food production and alleviate poverty. The white paper urges G8 countries to sustain their financial commitments to food security and launch an international research initiative to develop new agricultural varieties resistant to weather, extremes, water scarcity, disease, and related risks. It also recommends G8 members spur innovation and engage the private sector by reducing regulatory barriers, building capacity, strengthening intellectual property protections, and adopting and implementing policies to increase trade in commodities and food. These recommendations have been on the wish list of the Rockefeller Foundation since 1999, but it has consistently been met with stiff opposition. When the Rockefeller Foundation and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation announced a joint $150 million alliance for a green revolution in Africa, it provoked immediate criticisms that the proposal failed to take into account the failures of the original green revolution. The creators of Accra claimed the initiative will bring benefits to the African continent's impoverished farmers, who they asserted until then had been bypassed by the first green revolution. A day later, probably in an orchestrated move, Jacques Diop, Director General of UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, called for support for a second green revolution to feed the world's growing population. UN boss Kofi Annan also weighed in to support the initiative. First of all, it is not true that Africa was bypassed by the first green revolution. The first green revolution simply failed. The original green revolution did in fact target Africa, but the extraordinary complexity of African family systems and social relations doomed its one-size-fits-all model to failure. Nevertheless, in 1999, the Rockefeller Foundation launched its new Green Revolution for Africa initiative and was joined 7 years later by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to form the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA. AGRA's stated mission is to develop practical solutions to significantly boost farm productivity and incomes for the poor while safeguarding the environment across all key aspects of African agriculture value chain, from seeds, soil health, and water to market and agricultural education. Now, the new Alliance for Food and Nutrition Security, announced by President Obama during the 2012 G8 summit, is simply targeted at the extraordinary complexity of African farming systems and social relations doomed its one-size-fits-all model to failure. It is a faithful continuation of the same agenda initiated by AGRA in 2006. It also takes the trouble to make it all look as though these are initiatives being undertaken by Africans themselves. And we must please note this very carefully. The appointment of Kofi Annan as AGRA's chairman was a strategic decision that the Gates Foundation made to silence criticisms that its agricultural development agenda was a white man's dream for Africa. In fact, this more risks of Monsanto's campaign, Let the Harvest Begin, launched in 1998 to gain acceptance of genetically engineered crops around the world by projecting the benefits of the Green Revolution in Asia and its potential in Africa. Monsanto's campaign managed to draw several respected African leaders, such as Nelson Mandela, to speak for a new Green Revolution in Africa. In response, all the African delegates except South Africa to the UN Food and Agriculture negotiations on international undertaking for plant genetic resources in June 1998 issued a counter statement. Now, Let Nature Harvest Continue was the title of this statement. The delegates clearly stated their objection to multinational companies' use of the image of the poor and hungry from African countries to push technology that is not safe, environmentally friendly, or economically beneficial. Thus, for an overwhelming majority of Africans whose views are never consulted, the so-called Green Revolution is nothing other than an orchestrated corporate power grab over our agriculture. A rather curious accusation was leveled recently by the UK Environment Minister, Mr. Owen Patterson. In his speech at this year's Oxford Farming Conference, after saying that Europe is risking becoming a museum of world farming if it doesn't open the doors to genetically modified crops, he also said that decisions about adopting GM technology have to be based on science and called all opposition to GMs as potentially motivated. Considering the zeal with which they seek to reduce everything under the sun into a commodity, under the banner of neoliberalism, we can only safely make the claim that the attempts to use GMOs to boost big business profits and the corporate use of biotechnology as a tool for domination and takeover of the global food system is also politically motivated. This is precisely what the so-called second Green Revolution is about. Now let's talk about the players in this whole, game and what exactly are they supposed to be doing in order to ensure this deliberate corporate attempt at grabbing over the source of food of the world's people and the world's economy. Now, it is very difficult to discuss the players, their motives, the threats and opportunities without bearing in mind the devastating effects on Africa's agriculture of the sort of policies they have imposed upon us in the past and who benefited from those mistakes and who is still living with their consequences. This is very important. For instance, I have in mind the constitutionalities by the Bretton Woods institutions on Africa's agriculture. The structural adjustment program of the IMF and the World Bank alone ensured an erosion of Africa's food security unprecedented in our history. And this evidence is there for all to see. The people of Haiti were even lucky to get an apology from former US President Bill Clinton for the devastating consequences of the remarkable failures of his agricultural policy in Haiti. We are still waiting for apologies from the World Bank, the IMF, and our so-called development partners who control these institutions. But make no mistake, just as the rice farmers of Arkansas were the grateful beneficiaries of former President Bill Clinton's mistakes, are the giant transnational corporations in agriculture. And they will always make those apologies whether we like it or not. And that is why it's important that we take measures as ensuring that the damage of their corporate push on Africa to wreak the havoc that has been wreaked on many other parts of the world is not going to happen. And I must say that they have a lot of mistakes for us simply because each mistake represents a lot of profits. The GM push in Ghana was formally inaugurated at the 2012 G8 summit that announced to the world the formation of the new Alliance for Food Security and Nutrition for Africa on the 18th of May 2012, to which the late President Jonathan Mills, amongst heads of the 3 African countries, invited to the party. He was there. He was at the party. The symposium where this was announced had names like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, MacArthur Foundation, DuPont, Monsanto, Abbott, Elanco, Land O'Lakes, Walmart as sponsors. All the biotech corporations are players and they were at this particular party that was organized for 3 heads of states. In 1997, Europa Bio, the largest biotechnology trade, federation, representing 54 companies and 8 national associations, organized Europa Bio 97, European Bioindustry Congress, between June 25th and 27th in Amsterdam. Now, faced with a hostile European reception to their products and a bleak prospect for their respective businesses, they commissioned Benson McSteller, the world's largest PR firm, operating from 60 offices in 30 different countries, to write up a strategy proposal for achieving a change in public perceptions. The document was linked to Greenpeace. The Federation were advised to stay clear of form of public debate, and particularly the industry's killing fields, namely public issues of environmental and human health risks. The task of persuading consumers to embrace GM products should be left to those charged with public trust, politicians and regulators. Any wonder that unless or until a few of us came out in trying to raise the issues of GMOs and the Plant Breeders Bill, these laws were passed through our parliament very quietly. And now that Ghanaians are asking that we don't want the Biosafety Act, which talks about how GMOs are being introduced and to be handled in Ghana, they are telling us that it has been passed already. But was the law made for human beings, or the human beings were made for the law? They must explain this to us. If Ghanaians are raising tangential matters, they are raising important issues over the Plant Breeders Bill and the Biosafety Act, they can't tell us that it's been passed already. And we now understand why they were avoiding debate every day when we tried calling them to the round table. Now let's talk about the motives. Another big hurdle they faced was the recommendation in the final report of the International Assessment of Agricultural Science and Technology, the IAASTD, which called for no input of agroecological methods of farming as the way forward. Before this new alliance, the players were having a tough time penetrating Africa to the satisfaction of their greed. The new alliance was to change all that. The entire event was a gigantic publicity of Olympic proportions exclusively for the interest in the promotion of their wares. It was exactly what Chomsky will call the manufacturing of consent. The motive is to ignore the wise counsel of the IASTD and to impose GM foods by bypassing all international conventions, agreements and reports, and force the hands of governments into making what President Obama referred to as tough decisions in his opening remarks. It is my interpretation that the only reason for such decision could be tough, is because they are made without any popular awareness, let alone participation. It is therefore part of their motives to sneak this whole thing on us. They have every intention to take us unaware and an attempt to round us up while we are still sleeping. And this is where it is important that we start putting in place strategies of confronting all these attempts are trying to, exclude us from the debate and the policy which determines how food should be controlled in our countries. Now let's look at the threats. The Green Revolution actually deepens the divide between rich and poor farmers. In the 1960s, at the beginning of the first Green Revolution, the Rockefeller and Ford Foundations promoted industrial-style agriculture